The table invites the hungry, the curious, the daring, but beneath every bite, a hidden danger waits. Silent, swift, and irreversible. These are 5 souls whose final moments were shaped not by fate alone, but by the food they trusted. Each one, a last meal they never expected. It was January 5, 2021, in Colwyn Bay, North Wales. Thomas Anthony Mansfield, a 29-year-old personal trainer and security guard, was at home preparing for his workout. Known for his dedication to fitness, Thomas had recently ordered a packet of caffeine powder from Blackburn Distributions, a UK-based sports supplement company. The father of 2 was looking for that extra energy boost to enhance his training sessions. That morning, the caffeine powder arrived at his doorstep. Thomas, excited to try his new supplement, went straight to his kitchen to prepare a pre-workout drink. The recommended serving on the packaging stated between 60 to 300 milligrams twice a day, a small amount that would give just the right energy kick without any danger. But there was a problem. Thomas's digital scale had a starting weight of 2 grams, making it impossible to measure the tiny milligram doses recommended on the package. The powder didn't come with a measuring scoop, leaving Thomas to estimate the amount himself. This simple oversight would prove fatal. Unaware of the danger, Thomas was likely aiming for a mid-range serving of the supplement. Instead, he unknowingly measured several grams of the powder, up to 5 grams according to later investigations. This amount was 7 times higher than the maximum recommended dose, equivalent to drinking around 200 cups of coffee at once. Thomas mixed the powder with water, took a sip, and immediately necked the remainder of the drink. Within minutes, his body began to react violently to the massive caffeine overdose. His heart started racing uncontrollably. Thomas clutched his chest in pain, telling his wife Susanna that something was wrong. Moments later, he collapsed onto the sofa. His condition deteriorated rapidly as he began foaming at the mouth. Susanna, panicking, ran outside to get help from neighbors and nearby family members. She quickly called emergency services, desperately hoping they could save her husband. Paramedics arrived within minutes and found Thomas in cardiac arrest with a grossly abnormal heart rhythm. They immediately used a defibrillator and rushed him to Ysbyty Glan Clwyd Hospital. Despite their best efforts, Thomas was pronounced dead at 4 p.m. that same day, just hours after consuming the fatal drink. A post-mortem examination revealed the shocking truth. Thomas had 392 milligrams of caffeine per liter of blood, nearly 5 times the lethal dose. Medical experts testified that caffeine toxicity can be caused by levels as low as 78 milligrams per liter of blood. To put this in perspective, a typical cup of coffee produces only 2 to 4 milligrams of caffeine per liter of blood. What made this case particularly tragic was that Thomas was described by his wife as really healthy and rarely drank more than 2 cups of coffee a day. He had no underlying health conditions that would have made him more susceptible to caffeine's effects. He was simply a fitness enthusiast trying to improve his workout performance. Senior Coroner John Gittins ruled Thomas's death as misadventure, an unintended consequence of his own actions. The tragedy wasn't due to recklessness, but a simple miscalculation with devastating results. The inquest heard that the instructions and warnings on the packet were not in breach of regulations at the time, but they were clearly insufficient to prevent this tragedy. Following Thomas's death, Blackburn Distributions added a measuring scoop and detailed instruction sheet to all their caffeine powder packages. The coroner stated he was massively reassured by these changes, noting that had these simple tools been available to Thomas, he would likely still be alive today. The incident also prompted warnings from the Food Standards Agency about the dangers of concentrated caffeine supplements, emphasizing the importance of precise measurements and proper tools when handling such potent substances. Thomas left behind his heartbroken wife Susanna and their 2 young children Tommy and Millie. Writing on social media after his death, Susanna said she was absolutely heartbroken by the tragedy. "He was my whole life. I'll never get over this. You were my life, Tom," she wrote. "I'm missing you so much and trying so hard for the kids to keep it together. I love you more than I could love anyone. I'll always love you." Friends described him as a dedicated father and fitness enthusiast who ran his personal training business with the motto, "With you, every step of the way." After his death, the community rallied around his family, raising funds to support them through their grief. His story serves as a chilling reminder of how dangerous concentrated supplements can be without proper measuring tools. What was meant to enhance his workout ended his life, showing how even substances considered safe in moderation can become deadly when mishandled. It was a quiet morning on August 16, 2010, in Knebworth, Hertfordshire. Mitchell Carey, a 43-year-old graphic designer and father of two, decided to skip breakfast that day. By lunchtime, hunger drove him to a local cafe near his workplace to grab a quick meal. He chose a simple corned beef sandwich, unaware that this ordinary lunch choice would lead to a tragic and extremely rare medical crisis. Mitchell, who worked for sound engineering companies Sonic Distribution Ltd. and SE Electronics International as a marketing and communications director, returned to his office and ate his sandwich. Just 25 minutes later, his colleagues noticed something was terribly wrong. Mitchell began sweating profusely, his face flushed with pain. The discomfort was so intense that he stripped off his clothes, telling his coworkers that his pain level was 10 out of 10. Alarmed by his condition, his colleagues called for emergency services. Paramedics arrived quickly and rushed Mitchell to Lister Hospital in Stevenage. Doctors initially diagnosed him with food poisoning, a common enough condition. After treating him with painkillers for stomach cramps and diarrhea, they discharged him the same day, instructing him to rest at home. He never had any breakfast, and the first thing he had that morning was a corned beef sandwich for lunch. His wife, Debbie Carey, a hairdresser, later told investigators. She described how he collapsed at work, sweating profusely, before stripping his clothes off due to the unbearable pain. Unfortunately, Mitchell's condition worsened dramatically overnight. By the following afternoon, he was experiencing severe vomiting and excruciating stomach cramps. He collapsed at his home in Knebworth, and Debbie immediately called for an ambulance. When paramedics arrived, they found Mitchell in critical condition. At Lister Hospital, doctors discovered Mitchell was suffering from multiple organ failure. Despite their desperate efforts to save him, including resuscitation after he suffered a heart attack in the emergency room, Mitchell's condition continued to deteriorate rapidly. By the early hours of August 18th, just 2 days after eating the sandwich, Mitchell Carey was pronounced dead. The autopsy revealed a shocking cause: Clostridium perfringens, type A, an extremely rare and deadly bacterium. Dr. Martin Carter, a physician at Lister Hospital, testified that this particular strain of bacteria would have entered Mitchell's body and bloodstream less than 48 hours before his death. "I would be very suspicious of the corned beef," Dr. Carter stated. "The bacteria is carried in corned beef. This is such a rare condition, there are just a handful throughout the world. I have read of just 7. What made this case particularly devastating was the bacteria's nearly 100% mortality rate once it enters the bloodstream. Mortality reports for Clostridium perfringens, type A septicemia, is virtually 100%, Dr. Carter explained during the inquest. Environmental health officers tested the corned beef at the cafe 10 days later, but the results were negative. Despite this, the timeline of Mitchell's symptoms strongly suggested the sandwich was the source of the deadly bacteria. Coroner Edward Thomas returned a narrative verdict, ruling that Mitchell died from multiple organ failure caused by intravascular coagulation and enterocolitis, triggered by Clostridium perfringens type A. The coroner noted the extreme rarity of the case, saying, "We cannot be sure it was the corned beef, but he was unwell 25 minutes after eating it. It's an extremely rare organism." Mitchell's death was not the first tragedy to strike his family. He was the widower of Anna Wilson, daughter of former Arsenal goalkeeper and TV presenter Bob Wilson. Anna had died of a rare cancer in 1998 at just 31 years old. Mitchell had remained close to the Wilson family, who said after his death, "We loved him dearly." Mitchell left behind his second wife, Debbie, whom he married in 2004, and 2 young sons, Dylan, 9, and Ewan, 7. His sudden and bizarre death from something as ordinary as a corned beef sandwich serves as a chilling reminder of how even the most common foods can sometimes harbor deadly dangers. It was March 30th, 2017, at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut. The campus was buzzing with excitement as Greek Week celebrations were in full swing. Among the participants was 20-year-old Caitlin Nelson, a junior social work major known for her warm smile and dedication to helping others. The vibrant college student had signed up for a charity pancake eating contest to benefit Prevent Child Abuse America, unaware that this act of goodwill would lead to her tragic death. Caitlin's life had already been touched by tragedy. Her father, James Nelson, was a Port Authority police officer who died a hero during the September 11th attacks in 2001. He was last seen helping evacuate people from the 27th floor of one of the Twin Towers when it collapsed. Caitlin was just 5 years old when she lost her father. Perhaps inspired by his sacrifice, she dedicated herself to helping others, volunteering at the Resiliency Center of Newtown, where she counseled children affected by the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. As the pancake eating contest began that Thursday evening, the atmosphere was lighthearted. Students cheered as participants, including Caitlin, began rapidly consuming pancakes. When the buzzer rang, Caitlin did what many amateur competitive eaters do. She stuffed several pancakes into her mouth much faster than she could properly chew and swallow them. Within moments, something went terribly wrong. Caitlin began to shake uncontrollably. Her face turned blue as she struggled to breathe. She collapsed to the floor as panic spread through the crowd. 2 nursing students immediately rushed to her aid, attempting life-saving measures. Campus police officers arrived within minutes and found Caitlin unresponsive and not breathing. She started to choke on a pancake and someone recognized it. One of the nursing students at the competition, and she caught her attention, explained Fairfield Police Lieutenant Robert Calamaris. Police officers who were there immediately began CPR, basic life support. Despite their efforts, they couldn't dislodge what officers later described as a mass of pancake paste, like concrete, from her airway. Paramedics transported Caitlin to St. Vincent's Medical Center in Bridgeport, where doctors worked desperately to save her life. She was later transferred to New York Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan for more specialized care. For 3 days, Caitlin clung to life as medical professionals did everything possible to save her. Doctors determined that her brain had been severely damaged from oxygen deprivation during those critical minutes when she couldn't breathe. On April 2, 2017, Caitlin Nelson was pronounced dead. The autopsy confirmed what emergency responders had suspected. Caitlin had choked on the pancakes, which formed a dense, sticky mass that completely blocked her airway. The medical examiner ruled her death as an accident due to asphyxia, due to obstruction of airway by bolus of food. In the days following her death, thousands of Sacred Heart University students gathered for a candlelight vigil to honor Caitlin's memory. The university flag was lowered to half-staff. "The SHU community is mourning today," the school said in a statement. "We ask that during this time you give Caitlin's family and the members of the SHU community privacy while they grieve." In a final act of generosity that reflected how she lived her life, Caitlin's organs were donated to help others. That's exactly what Caitlin would have wanted. "That's just the type of selfless person she was," said close friend Stephanie Cinque. "She was a beautiful human being." In 2018, Caitlin's mother, Roseanne Nelson, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Sacred Heart University, claiming the school had approved the contest despite the dangers of pancakes and failed to have adequate medical personnel present. The university initially responded by claiming Caitlin was responsible for her own death due to her carelessness and negligence, but later settled the lawsuit in 2020 for an undisclosed amount. Caitlin's tragic story serves as a sobering reminder of how quickly a fun, charitable event can turn deadly, and how even something as seemingly harmless as pancakes can become lethal under the wrong circumstances. It was July 8, 2009 in Camden, New Jersey. Vincent Smith II, a 29-year-old temporary worker, arrived for his shift at Cocoa Services Incorporated, a chocolate processing facility. The young man had only been working at the plant for a few weeks, having recently moved back to Camden to find work. On this ordinary Wednesday morning, no one could have predicted the horrific accident that would claim his life. The facility on the 700 block of North 36th Street was a processing plant where raw chocolate was melted down and mixed before being shipped to major manufacturers like Hershey's. Vincent's job that day was straightforward but dangerous. He stood on a 9-foot-high platform above an 8-foot-deep vat of melting chocolate, loading large chunks of raw chocolate into the tank. The chocolate in the vat was heated to approximately 120 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt the solid chunks, but not so hot as to burn or scorch the delicate cocoa. As Vincent worked, a large mechanical paddle continuously stirred the mixture below him, ensuring the chocolate melted evenly. This industrial mixer, designed to handle massive quantities of chocolate, rotated with significant force. Around 10:30 a.m., something went terribly wrong. Vincent, standing precariously on the platform with no safety harness, lost his footing while dumping chunks of chocolate over the side of the vat. In an instant, he slipped and plunged headfirst into the hot, liquid chocolate below. The fall alone was dangerous, but what made this accident particularly deadly was the mixing paddle. As Vincent fell into the vat, he was struck in the head by the large agitator, a fatal blow that likely rendered him unconscious immediately. His co-workers watched in horror as the scene unfolded. "I tried as hard as I could," a distraught co-worker later told reporters, visibly shaken by the accident. 3 of Vincent's colleagues acted quickly, rushing to shut off the mixing machine. But the damage had already been done. They couldn't reach Vincent in the deep vat of thick, viscous chocolate. Emergency services were called immediately. When firefighters arrived at the scene, they faced the grim task of extracting Vincent from the chocolate vat. By the time they managed to pull him out, he had been submerged in the hot liquid for approximately 10 minutes. Many of the rescue workers emerged covered in chocolate, a macabre reminder of the unusual nature of this industrial accident. Despite their efforts, Vincent was pronounced dead at the scene. The Camden County Prosecutor's Office spokesman, Jason Laughlin, confirmed that the cause of death was the blow to the head from the mixing paddle, combined with the fall and submersion in the hot chocolate. Vincent's father and aunt rushed to the facility, only to receive the devastating news that he hadn't survived. "They say he didn't make it," his teary-eyed Aunt Teresa Smith told reporters at the scene. The family stood at the facility's gate that afternoon, waiting to speak with management, seeking answers about how this could have happened. "That's all it would have taken was just some sort of a safety harness to prevent him from falling in," Teresa Smith said, questioning whether proper safety measures had been in place. Following the accident, investigations revealed troubling facts about the facility. Camden officials cited Lyons and Sons Inc., which owned the building and rented space to Cocoa Services, for operating without a business license. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, launched an investigation into potential safety violations. In January 2010, OSHA fined the companies nearly $40,000 for 12 serious safety violations. The investigation found that the facility had no first aid program in place and lacked proper safety precautions that could have prevented Vincent's death. The citations included missing guardrails, inadequate emergency procedures, and improper safety training. Vincent Smith II left behind his parents, Vincent James Smith Sr. and Deborah Hoffman, his sister Alicia, 3 brothers, and 2 nephews. His funeral was held at Community Baptist Church in Camden, with interment at Sunset Memorial Park in Pennsauken, New Jersey. His tragic death serves as a stark reminder of the importance of workplace safety regulations and the devastating consequences when they're not properly implemented. It was December 23, 2024, in Torres, a coastal city in southern Brazil. The holiday season was in full swing as the Silva dos Anjos family gathered to celebrate Christmas together. Maida Berenice Flores da Silva, 58, her sister Neuza Denise Silva dos Anjos, 65, and Neuza's daughter Tatiana Denise Silva dos Anjos, 43, were among the 7 family members present for what should have been a joyous occasion. None of them could have imagined that a traditional Christmas cake would turn this celebration into a tragedy. The family had assembled at the home of Zeli Terezinha Silva dos Anjos, 61, who had prepared a bolo de Natal, a traditional Brazilian Christmas cake, with the help of her sister Maida. This was a family tradition they had maintained for years, a centerpiece of their holiday gatherings that everyone looked forward to. It was a traditional family cake, a king cake, which they always made, a local resident later told Brazilian media. The cake looked appetizing, giving no indication of the danger it contained. As the family sat down to enjoy coffee and cake that afternoon, 6 of the 7 family members present took slices of the festive treat. Almost immediately, something seemed off. Some family members later recalled an unpleasant and spicy hint to the cake, a subtle warning that went unheeded. Within minutes of consumption, the family members began to feel severely ill. Zili, who had eaten 2 pieces of the cake, was the first to show symptoms and was rushed to the hospital. The others quickly followed as their conditions deteriorated rapidly. The scene turned chaotic as family members experienced intense stomach pain, vomiting, and weakness. Tatiana and Maida's conditions worsened dramatically. Both women suffered cardiac arrests and died that same day. Their Christmas celebration transformed into an unimaginable nightmare. Nusa, Tatiana's mother, was hospitalized in critical condition. Despite doctors' desperate efforts to save her, she passed away the following day, Christmas Eve, from what hospital officials described as shock after food poisoning. 3 other family members, including a 10-year-old boy, remained hospitalized but survived the ordeal. As news of the deaths spread, police launched an investigation led by Chief Marcos Vinicius Veloso. Initial suspicions pointed to food poisoning, but the severity and rapid onset of symptoms suggested something far more sinister. Blood tests soon revealed the shocking truth. The cake contained lethal amounts of arsenic, a highly toxic substance. Forensic analysis found staggering levels of the poison in the victims' bodies. Margette Mittman, forensic police director of Rio Grande do Sul State, reported that one victim had 350 times the lethal amount of arsenic in her system. An intentional poisoning rather than accidental contamination. The investigation took a dramatic turn when police discovered that Zeli's husband, Paulo Luiz, had died just months earlier in September from what was initially reported as food poisoning. His death, previously considered natural, was now being re-examined as potentially connected to the Christmas cake poisoning. On January 5, 2025, police arrested a woman identified in local media as Daisy, reportedly the daughter-in-law of Zeli. Investigators discovered she had researched arsenic on the internet before the incident. She was charged with triple homicide and triple attempted homicide. As soon as the 10-year-old boy ate it and also complained about the taste, Zeli kind of put her hand on top of the cake and said, "And now no one will eat it anymore." And people started to feel sick at that moment, Officer Veloso told reporters, describing the scene based on witness accounts. The tragedy shocked the small community of Torres. What made the case particularly disturbing was the deliberate nature of the poisoning, targeting a family gathering during what should have been a time of celebration and togetherness. The deaths of Maida, Nusa, and Tatiana serve as a chilling reminder of how something as innocent as a family tradition, a Christmas cake shared among loved ones, can become deadly when tainted by malice. Thanks for watching. These tragic last bites remind us that even the simplest pleasures can carry the sharpest edge, and not every meal ends with satisfaction. Click here for more real stories where the unexpected turned deadly.